Good morning, afternoon, and or evening, fellow gamers. Today, I'll be basically going over the journey of how I played Pirate101 incorrectly and didn't use any training tombs. But before we get into the video, roll the intro. Anyways, before I get into explaining what happens, I'll explain the rules, and they're simple and quick. Rule 1 is that I can't use training tombs. Rule 2 is that I can't use crowns. And Rule 3 is that I can't interact with other people playing in Pirate101. Simple as that. Now let's begin.
Get down! She's going to blow! It's one of these prisoners. Check the ones down there, monkey.
I am on it.
I began my journey by swiftly going through the customization because the grinding I'll do will take a lot of time, and I just wanted to get it over as fast as possible. I chose my parents were lost looking for treasure so I can get my dude, Lucky Jack Russell, chose the Crocs to raise me to get more spoopy stat, and I chose Witchdoctors for various reasons I will explain now. I'm planning on beating the game without training tomb, so I chose Witch to have the maximum power of Blood Flames, and because I'll get Serpent Augur late in the game, which I think is a good companion. I plan on my unteam being Catbeard, Contessa, Snake Lady, and Grimtooth. So yeah, let's get back to what's going on in the run. I skipped the tutorial and immediately changed my world into a world where no one is because I'm an introvert, and skipped Avery's and Rigby's text and booked it to Skull Mountain to talk to Bonnie. She told me to help her out in battle against the Troggies by softening them up a bit, and I gladly wiped out the Troggy population after I turned fast combat on, and that's when I finally realized how tedious this will be. I was planning on grinding until I got to level 2, and here's the footage sped up. I ended up managing to get to level 2 and killing exactly 100 Troggies, and I think I softened them up enough, and talked back to Bonnie Ann. I got to level 2 to get Bonnie Ann at level 4, but then I realized my stupidity. The only reason why you always get Bonnie Ann at level 3 is because you perfectly become level 2 from the EXP you get from her quest. The EXP is expected for a level 1 pirate to get to a level 2, but not for a level 2 to get to a level 3. So basically I still got Bonnie Ann at level 3. And sighed because I didn't get enough XP to get Bonnie Ann at level 4. And then I realized I looked like a fashion genius and began to search for a frog with guns and a beanie. After that frog dude with guns and a beanie told me to take the key away from the bad frog, I shot a frog for the first time, took the key, freed the frog with guns, and skipped his text and went to Skull Cave. But it turns out the sharks want their population to drop, but I was tired, so I just killed a couple of them rather than their whole population. Gunfrog said the scary shark was in a cave, and I ran into the cave headfirst, collected a new cool shirt, equipped it, inflated my ego, and headed to the Temple of Gloom. I ran to the end of the Temple of Gloom and was willing to swim through the deep water, but it turns out my companions suck at swimming, so a pirate dog told us to talk to him. It's that to get through the water, we have to drain the water in some unknown place, and the sharks have found a key, so I began threatening their population by beating 6 of them. I used the key and saw a bunch of frogs who wanted to get destroyed, dodged them, hit the stones with a gun, stick, and magic, and killed the scary deadly frogs all at once without backup coming. I used my teleportation abilities to head back to the doggo, and he told me he'll join the fight when I fight Finn, and once I met Finn, he said my favorite quote in the game.
Hold your ground, friends. Cutthroats are bullies and cowards. Beat their leader and the rest will turn tail. So get Finn!
So I immediately made my scary ghost rats attack him, and that's when I realized how weak these companions can be when they're low leveled. But even under these circumstances, I still managed to beat Finn and send him back to Avery and returned his amulet. Also, I forgot to mention how I got insanely lucky and got one of the best pieces of gear at this early level, aka the Cutthroat Eye Patch, which is extremely rare and gives the users Triton Song, and I popped off once I got it. Then I talked to Mikey so he'll shut up on saying how you should go to your house, get a pet, etc, 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 and sold my stuff back to the economy, got a mysterious mole, and then I ran back to fight Finn. But turns out, Doggo Dude doesn't come back to you when you beat Finn for the first time, and that was sad. But I still fought Finn a couple of times until my Wi-Fi said no, and I stopped recording for that day. Then I came back to the game, put the Barracuda on the endangered animals list, heard that a rat trapped his friend in the cave with some dinos, beat those dinos, and met some nice ones. Killed some more bad dinos, got a skull of some sort, booked it back to the good dinos, and they told me that there's this big, bad, magical dino that they can't hurt because it's against the law to attack elders, so I did the work for them. I went to the Pyramid of Fire, snuck past the first wave of dinos, glitched the second wave of dinos text, spooked the third wave of dinos, summoned my Rats of Death to kill the fourth wave of dinos, and used the dead to kill the dead dino fifth wave, and finally met the scary Dino of Doom at the end. I used my Rats of Death to destroy the evil dino statue, and gained the ability to summon my Rats of Death 3 times to destroy the opponent, because my RNG has been surprisingly good for some freaking reason. Then, I went back to put my ghost rat I didn't fight to rest, and headed back to my trainer to learn how to drain the life of my opponents, and tested it on some fish. A lot of fish. And when I say a lot of fish, that means the entire Skull Island's population of Barracuda. Then I turned off the game and took a break. Then I came back, killed some more fish, and later I looked for a ring and found a herd of birds, in which I used mine and Mormo's explosion powers to kill them all. I went to the house of Wilhelmina, then she said her rat husband was kidnapped by some scary crabs. So I ignored her and focused on the other rats' mission, and it turns out that one of the rats worked with some big bad sharks and is trying to kill Captain Avery. So I took their crab and beat the sharks with my spoopy ghost until they said they weren't snitches. So I went into the Skyway to find some shark snitches, and it turns out that Boston Finley was the only hard shark, because it turns out that one immediately snitched after I shot down their ship and completed 3 tasks with 1 stone. I teleported straight back to Avery's house and told him the sharks are bad, but he says he doesn't really care, so I talked to the buffest shark in the spiral, and he said that sharks are bad, and they're probably in the sewer. Turns out that the fancy sewer rat was trying to sabotage Skull Island, so I gave him a spooking and he ran. After chasing him for around 5 seconds, I met Big Bad Shark, who can't speak pirate. I also gave him a spooking and he ran too, and the rat guy also did, even though I killed him. I headed back to Buff Sharko, and he said that the rat dude was a commander and that Fatima knew where he was. So I killed 3 birds with 1 stone. I learned a lesson she wanted me to come to learn, and she told me that the rat dude is in the ancient tunnels, and he has very, very spoopy powers. So I ignored the rat that is trying to kill us all, and I started to do some side quests. I first sold back to the economy. Second, I gave a cat a telescope. Third, I met the Mafia, and then I cared about the fact that a rat dude is trying to kill us all, so I used my ghostly rats to spook him senselessly until he surrendered. He said that the next meeting place was in Devilfish Hollow, so I traveled there. But on the way there, I found some crab boys and shot down their ship, and they said their boss was also in Devilfish Hollow. What a coincidence. Also, I met an evil mouse that stole a rat's flask, so I shot down her ship on the way to Devilfish Hollow. Once I got there, I fought the crab boys first. Then I spooked the sharks second. When I spooked the sharks with my magical rants, it turns out one of the sharks is a shrimp, and there is a horde of chads protecting him, but they still stand no chance against my ghostly, spoopy ghost rats. After that, I started creating a genocide on the Barracuda again. Yes, you may think it's boring, but when I'm jamming to Megalovania, Ivan Polka, and B Lasagna, I can't get bored when I'm grinding. And then I went to the fire ship to stop the ship from using kamikaze, and I successfully did stop them by beating the chats and sharks, then exploding the ship with a gun, because my ghost rats can explode ships, surprisingly. Then I took a break. Once I returned, I headed to the top of Skull Island and fought some stinky shrimps at the top. The first 4 waves immediately died to my spooky rats, but the master was also simple. His crystals didn't protect him from my ghost rats from slicing him to bits. I didn't get any good loot, so I went to save Captain Gordon from the Red Crab Gang. I slapped Frankie Pinch in the first round, and then I headed into the real battle. I sent Mormo to the winch to save Captain Gordon, and my dead rats took care of the crabs. The big, bad boss crab came out because I destroyed his crab cake companions, and he said that we'll have a peaceful trade if I take the hook from the floating Dutchman and give it to the crabs, so I left the game for the day. I plopped back onto the game and redid the shrimp dungeon twice to get good gear, but I didn't get any good gear, so that was sad. So because of that, I ran to the house where the dude with the hook info is being attacked by rats, so I used my rats from the dead to kill the rats that are alive. The old dude said that the floating Dutchman is in a cave, so I rushed there. The ghosts were hard to fight against, but my rat ghost took care of them. Then I finally fought the Dutchman. Luckily, I killed the Dutchman before he plagued any of my companions. If he managed to plague my companions before they died, they'd become the opponent's companions, which is honestly a very cool feature. So my companions easily die, so the fight would have been a nightmare if the Dutchman got to me before I got to him. Anyways, I didn't get any good gear, so I didn't do it again because the length of the dungeon was very long. So I sold again back to the economy, talked to the rat bros, then talked to Lasco, and I finally finished my grinding. After that, I went to Vadma and she taught me some spooky abilities, and I finally took a long break from Pirate101. Hopefully this video does well. It was actually really fun, and I can't wait to complete the run without using any training tombs. If you couldn't tell, I based this video editing style off of Alpharet's Mudkip video, which you should subscribe to him, and the other being is how far you can make it in Pirate101 without membership or crowns by Froggies, which I haven't checked out his channel completely, but you should quickly check out that video. Both of the videos are actually going to be in the description, and they're both well done, and you should check them both out. Hopefully this video made you, the viewer, happy, and also roll the outro.